Hello everyone, and this is the part 2 of creating a shoe 3D product animation in Blender, and in this one we are going to be shading the shoe that we've created in the part 1. So if you haven't watched it yet, make sure to watch this and I'll leave the link in the description, and let's get started. This tutorial is all about shading and everything is 100% procedural, and we are not using any image textures right there. So here's basically the exact same file where we left the modeling. I renamed every object, so make sure to do that too so you don't confuse things. What I'm gonna do is, first I'm gonna do some UV unwrapping here. I'm not expert at that, but hope you'll do some good job at that. So I'm gonna hit Alt to select that loop here and select this loop too. Now that's selected, I'm gonna select this loop too and right click and mark seam. Now with that done, I'm gonna hit 3 and select these two faces and hit Ctrl L. Then I'm gonna select these faces and hit Ctrl plus. And then I'm going to add another material here and assign it and make it new, name it to bubble, because these are sort of bubbles, so we're adding another material for that. And then hit Ctrl I to select the invert mesh of that and click this plus button and create a new material called the sole. Make it sole and assign it. Now hit Shift Edge to hide everything else and hit 2 for the edge selection mode and select this loop and this one and this one, and right click and mark seam. Now select everything and U and unwrap. Now that's done, I'm gonna hit Alt Edge to unhide everything and hit Tab. Now go to the material preview mode and bring that up just like that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a texture coordinate node and a vector math, and set this vector math to scale so that we can control the scale of the whole effect here. Connect this from UV to the vector because we just UV unwrapped it, and Control Shift click on this one to just view what's happening here. Bring the scale up just like that and add a Voronoi texture. Set this Voronoi to from F1 to distance to edge and duplicate it and connect this vector here and set this one from distance to edge to F2 and add a math node and connect these two right there. Actually I'm gonna make this math node from add to compare, and then I'm going to add color ramp and duplicate it for this one too and make it from linear to constant. Bring that back just like that, and that one to constant and bring it back just like that. And now if you view this, it looks like that. Total garbage. Why? Because the randomness is 1 here. I'm gonna bring that back to 0 and that's it. Make this from this to Minkowski or something, yeah. And then I'm gonna bring the scale down to something like 2, make the scale from 5 to 4, and just like that, play around with these values and see what works for you. Make this from 3D to 4D and then play with this, something like that. Bring the scale up, bring that one, invert it, invert this value if needed to, play with the W slider here. And just like that, play around with the values until you get the result you're looking for. I still don't like this pattern. I want to change it. Something like 4 or yeah, that's actually pretty good. Yeah, that's good. These are some values that we can always play around with and change them, so don't worry about them. You can change them whenever you want it. And now I'm going to add a mix RGB here, just sort of connect it to the principled VSTF and finally get the result. So I'm going to get connected to the factor, make this one black, I think make this white and make this one a little bit black. Sort of get the vibe here. I'm going to select the bubbles and turn up the transmission to 1, the roughness to 0, and then I'm going to give it emission of 1 and turn down the base color to 0, and then you got the bubbles here. Maybe change the scale of the pattern, turn it up just like that. These spheres. Yeah, that's it. Now let's look at the body and other objects and give them some cool materials. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up the image that we had here and sort of look at it and see what we need to do for next. You can see these lines right there. Just forget about it. I don't like it, so we're not going to do it in this tutorial. And now it's time to do this body. So I'm going to click to add a new material and make it something like body. And in this new material, what I'm going to do is first go to the material settings and make it from bump only to displacement only, because I'm going to do some displacement here. So yeah, and I added another subdivisional surface here and set it to adaptive subdivisions, and the dicing scale is 0.3, and you'll get this option when you turned on the feature set to experimental. So yeah, that's it. You can look at the settings here and copy it. Now I'm going to add a displacement node here. And set this displacement scale to something like 0.006. Yeah, we're going to use that later. So now we got some pattern here. I'm going to select it from the saw and hit Ctrl G to make some group of it. I'm going to name it to VR pattern. This is the Voronoi pattern. You can tweak it a little bit more if you want to. I want to go like that. Yeah, that's better. we can select this mesh right there now and add this group here, which was the VR pattern, and connect it to the base color. So now that one looks like that. Don't worry, we're not gonna use directly it like that. It's not looking good here. So how we're gonna do this? Well, I'm gonna add a mix RGB here and mix it with another group here. There's a group that I made just today, fabric pattern group, and if you preview it, it looks like that. It's a very great set of nodes here and an amazing pattern. We can always do some settings and tweaks here, like the thickness of the threads here, but it's a lot of math nodes and I think you're not gonna understand it in this quick tutorial. So it's a quick tutorial about just shading this whole shoe, so I'm gonna just provide it in the description. You can download it for free. So I'm gonna connect this to the color 2 and preview this. Let's see how that looks. So it's looking like that, not bad, but we're gonna do some tweaks, so we're gonna fix it. Go to the outliner. I did a collection for the lights, just added a few lights around this object here. I'm gonna make it multiply, and you can see it looks very bad, very bad. It's not what we want here. So connect this fabric pattern to the height of the displacement so that we get some displacement here. It's sort of working. Now I think it's not 0.3, I can make it something like 0.1, I think. That's a lot smoother now. But this black color is a lot black. I don't like it, so what I'm gonna do for that is at the end I'm just gonna add a color ramp and tweak the values a little bit to something whitish. And yeah, that's kind of better. I think that works for me. I'm gonna bring this dicing level to something like 0.3 again. I don't like very low because it's just disturbing me. And one thing right there, if I remove this color ramp and bring it back to this thing, I can actually make it better. Yeah, that looks a lot better now. The bubbles are too emissive, so I'm gonna bring the emission down to something like 0.6, and it fixed it. Now for this strap, what I'm going to do is hit tab, select everything. I added the loop cuts here, so hit U and unwrap it, go to the UV editing here and scale it along the x-axis to make it kind of squares, just like that. Now go to the shader editor, hit tab again and create a new material for the straps. I'm gonna add a wave texture, simply just a wave texture, or just add a UV map here and select the UV map and connect the color to the base color here. Then bring up the scale just like that. I'm going to add a bump and connect the normal to the normal and connect the factor or the color to the height. You see it's very sharp. I think I'm gonna bring down the distance to something like 0.02, and then what I want to do is make it a little bit distorted, not a lot, just a little bit, and bring up the clear coat value to 1, so it's sort of plastic look here. And after all that, I'm just gonna add a bevel modifier to sort of round up the edges right there, and bring it back and give it some segments. 3 will be good. And then I'm going to go to the shading here and harden normals, and then go to the normals and auto smooth here. Close the bevel. It's pretty much ready. The strap is done. You can put your logo wherever you like here, and always change the colors as you like it. You can also change the pattern here or the scale of the pattern. So that we have the pattern here, but first you gotta hit this 2 button here. If you do it just like that and just change the scale here, I think it will change the soul here too, because it's just one group and it's in the whole Blender file. So if you rename this group to something like pattern.001 here, so it's another group now, and then you can change the scale of it something bigger and it will not affect the soul here. I'm going to bring up the scale of these straps just like that. Select this material and drag and drop it on this one too. If your UVs are not correct, you can just correct them easily yourself. It's still very sharp, so I'm going to add a color ramp on this strap material and make it something like B-spline. Bring that up. Bring the strength down. It's better, just leave it like that now. Now after that, we've done pretty much a lot of the shading, and the last one is this object here. I'm going to select this and just drop the material on it, but we're not going to use the same material for that one. I basically UV unwrapped it here, added only one seam right there in the middle where we just did this kind of line thing here. So you can right click and mark seam here, and after marking the seam you can select everything U and unwrap. Then go to the UV editing, select everything and scale it down just a little bit to match the texture. Then go to the shader editor, and I've added this material here, so I'm gonna copy it because we're editing it. So if you don't copy it, it will change this one with it. So first I'm gonna hit this 2 to copy it, and then what I'm gonna do is for the fabric pattern, I'm gonna connect it directly to the base color here and remove these, and the displacement will be on its place. And then I'm going to connect this directly to the alpha, and then I'm going to add a map node and set it to greater than, and the threshold can be 0. So now we got some alpha here. Then I'm going to make the roughness to 1 and add a color ramp here. Bring this black value up just a little bit, and now we got some cool shading right there. Yeah, that's good. And you can see how I also added a subdivisional surface like that and turned on the adaptive subdivisions so that you can get a better displacement here. Well, this one's not assigned, so hit tab, select this one face and hit Ctrl plus. Then I'm gonna go to the materials and select the bubbles and assign it, and now that's good. I'm kind of looking for a bad black and white look right there, so you can always color yours, use gradients and whatever you want here. If you change the color of the soul, you can always do that, like change this color here and make it whatever you want, like something like that. But I like this black and white look a lot, and this looks a lot better too. So you can also change the color of the bubbles here And that's it for the shading. By the way, if you want to learn more, there's also a very great tutorial of Turkilliot on these shading tips. I'll see you in the next tutorial, and it's probably gonna be about some simulation stuff, yeah, or some geometry notes for this shoe, because we're gonna do the knitting here and it's gonna be amazing. I did this material because it will match the knitting here. Hope I'll see you in the next one, and bye.